Welcome back, guys. Today we are at the Art of Attack and RS Future headquarters in Rancho Cucamonga. We are here to see one of my favorite cars of all time on planet Earth, the RS Future K24-Swapped NSX Time Attack race car. I have referenced it many times in previous episodes. We've talked about it, I've shown it on screen, but today we are gonna take a full in-depth look at this car. We're gonna check out all of the parts that comprise it, and we're gonna see what we can walk away with in terms of knowledge, because this is a turbocharged K24 mid-engine time attack build. That sounds pretty familiar to our project, so let's check this thing out. This is the RS Future NSX, and it is, as said, one of my favorite cars on planet Earth. There are a lot of reasons for that, and that's why we're dedicating this episode to this car and this car alone. We're going to talk about why it was built, what makes it tick, and why it's so outrageously successful in the sport of North American time attack racing. But most importantly, we're here to do some homework, because this NSX is everything that our 308 project dreams of being. But clearly, it's not a Ferrari, so let's start with a little bit of history about what the NSX is at heart before we really dive in. Honda's NSX is, or at least was, their own attempt to join the exotic supercar market. Their intentions were pretty clear. They wanted to match or best Ferrari's V8 offerings at a lower price point and with more reliability. In the 32 years since this car was introduced, it has become an icon, if not the quintessential Japanese sports car. It was built with direct input from Formula One legend Ayrton Senna, and it has been praised by Gordon Murray, the creator of the McLaren F1, as one of the greatest cars ever built. It features an all-aluminum chassis, an all-aluminum 3-liter V6 engine, and state-of-the-art double wishbone suspension that can still put modern cars to shame. But it wasn't met without some criticisms, namely that some felt the car was underpowered. It looked like a supercar and it certainly handled like one, but it wasn't going to outrun one in a straight line. Gordon Murray even begged Honda to build an engine that would properly suit this car before giving up and moving on to building the McLaren F1, but where Honda fell short, RS Future is picking up the slack. Starting with the bodywork, it is abundantly clear that this NSX is far from stock. The list of bodywork changes is extensive, starting with a front-end conversion to an NA2 RGT nose from Spoon Sports. The hood has been sourced from an NSXR, and the front fenders come from Yokota Bodycraft. These are Amir's choice not only for aesthetics, but for overall wheel and tire fitment, which we'll touch upon here in a few. On the other hand, Amir went with Marga Hill's rear fenders and side skirts, and the rear end has been capped off with a Spoon Sports RGT rear bumper. The icing on the cake for this car, though, is Amir's choice of color. Plenty of you will recognize this as Midnight Purple 2 from the Nissan GT-R. The way that it flops from gold to purple to blue makes it one of the coolest colors ever offered from the factory by a manufacturer. But you probably aren't here to talk about the style of this car, you're probably here because of the engine under the hood. So let's talk about it. In place of that original C30A V6 is a 4-cylinder Honda K20. This is a 2-liter variant of the exact same engine found in our Ferrari project. In fact, this car is solely responsible for my choice of engine, and he chose it for all of the same reasons that we did.
After looking at the C-Series and the K-Series and weighing the various options, it was obvious that the K-Series was the choice to go with. The K-Series was much lighter, it was easy to make as reliable at the horsepower range we wanted, which is right about 750, 850 at the absolute maximum. The aftermarket was huge and replacements were easy to find. So fortunately we haven't needed very many replacements, but we knew that if we needed it, it was there, and overall it's been the right decision. The car's done everything we wanted it to, and now we're just ready to take it to the next level with the Unlimited class build.
As part of his transition from the Street class to the Unlimited class, Amir is upgrading to this 6-speed sequential air-shifted SADEV transmission. Think of the Quaife sequential we have in the Ferrari and turn it up to 11. While he's waiting on the real thing to show up, SADEV sent him this incredible 3D printed mock-up transmission so we can get everything else organized. Amir has other updates in the works as well, including revamping the entire electronics package for the car. It's going to be receiving an M-Tron ECU, a Motec dash, and a fresh Rywire mil-spec wiring harness. Because of Rywire's experience on this project, I knew he was right for the Ferrari. Under the back of the car, boost is provided by a Garrett turbocharger, which also will be upgraded soon. Exhaust gases are routed out through a titanium exhaust, which was fabricated by my former business partner, the incredibly talented Riley Stair. Riley's company RS Motorsport is a sponsor of the car and built the incredible cage that's inside. The fully TIG-welded 6-point RS Motorsport cage in the car is built from a material called Docol R8. It's a motorsport-specific roll cage tubing that is a light alternative to something like 4130 chromoly steel. It's less prone to cracking though, which is a huge benefit, and it can also be MIG or TIG welded. This is as good as it gets for roll cage material in any racing application. Due to its strength properties, most sanctioning bodies also allow for the use of thin-walled Docol, which in the case of Amir's NSX helps keep the weight at a bare minimum. As it sits, this car is only 2,050 pounds, and it's about to get lighter. Such a lightweight car does present some challenges though. Joining the steel cage to the aluminum chassis presents a number of problems, but RS Motorsport knocked that out of the park as well. From inside the car, the cage protrudes through the rear bulkhead using bulkhead connectors and then ties into the rear shock mounts. This makes for an incredibly rigid setup that's still removable. Inside the car, there is a lot of raw aluminum visible, and trust me, with the NSX up on the lift, the underside looks exactly the same. Tons of rubber, sound deadening, and even paint have been removed to shave weight, but due to the fact that it's aluminum, there are no fears of rust. Previously, while competing in the street class, the car was required to have most of its interior, but now as it moves to the unlimited class, all that remains is a single brid seat. Things like a dash and seat belts are coming soon, but they aren't expected to add very much weight. Now let's talk wheels and tires. Amir's NSX sits on a set of Titan 7 TP5s, measuring out to 18 by 11.5 and 18 by 12 in the rear. And as you might have guessed by the graphics on the side and back of the car, the wheels are wrapped in Yokohama tires. For brakes, the car sports a set of StopTech STR40s with 328mm rotors for the front and the back. Amir has also installed a Bosch Motorsport ABS system for brake control. But now that the running gear is out of the way, we can turn our attention to the Aero Package, what RS Future truly specializes in. At the front of the car is an RS Future splitter, which might look familiar based on the one we have for the 308. The only difference is these 3D end plates. Now, I'm not an aerodynamicist, so I'm not even going to begin to try to explain how they work. I just know that they're effective in controlling airflow, downforce, and turbulence. You'll probably notice that the shape of them is mimicked by the curved side splitters, which I recently revealed for the 308 a couple of episodes ago. And then, of course, there's the RS Future rear wing, which should absolutely look familiar at this point. So considering everything that's done to this car, and the fact that we've only scratched the surface, we know that it's fast, but how fast is it really? Well, we can start by saying it holds the class record at every track that it's raced at.
Buttonwillow Raceway Park is the standard in North America for time attack. It is where it's happened for almost 2 decades now. We currently hold the street class record there with a 144.3. To put that into perspective for you, with a normal street car, a well set up BMW M3 is normally sub 2 minutes, 158, 159 is a good goal for most drivers there. So quite a bit quicker. We have a lot more power, a lot less weight, and quite a bit more downforce. And then from there, now that we've accomplished that, the goal is unlimited, which is in the 137s, which is very, very fast. To put that into perspective for you, a full factory prepared GT3 race car like a 488 GT3 or a Porsche 911 GT3R is probably in the mid 30s at Buttonwillow. So our goal is to beat the unlimited class record and eventually have the fastest closed cockpit car, tin top, production based car to have ever run on Buttonwillows.
Yes, you heard that correctly. Amir wants this car to be the fastest production-based car to ever go around Buttonwillow, and that sounds admittedly absurd, but if you know Amir as well as I do, you know it's something he's absolutely capable of, and more importantly, he's absolutely driven to achieve. I think that's part of what makes this car so spectacular in my eyes. It's beautiful, and it's a feat of engineering, both on Honda's part and Amir's, but most importantly, it represents someone's accomplishments and their constant pursuit of perfection. It showcases that often blurry line where function and form meet while adding in philosophy and motivation to the mix. So let's be clear, this NSX is everything the 308 will never get the chance to be, but if it and its owner aren't a source of inspiration, I don't know what possibly could be. After months of trying to get together to make this episode happen, I'm glad I can finally share at least a little bit of this car's story with you. From once daily driver to what could be the fastest production car to ever go around the most famous time attack course in North America, this is the type of story I have based my entire career around. So there you have it. That is the RS Future NSX. I hope you guys liked this episode. If you did, leave a like, leave some feedback. I need to know if I should be making more episodes like this one. It's nice to get out of the shop and show you guys cars that I find interesting, things that I can learn something from, and hopefully you guys can learn something from too. So leave me some feedback. And if you haven't yet, make sure you subscribe. The growth of this channel is what keeps it going. I'd love to hit 200K by the end of the year. Putting a lot of work into it. Let's see if we can get there. And of course, I'll catch you guys at the beginning of next week. I've got lots of Ferrari progress for you, and I've learned a thing or two, so we'll see what we can execute. Let's get some Aero parts mounted. I'll see you then. Thanks for the support.